What's going on, everybody? We're back at the Real Bodybuilding Podcast, and I'm on with the guy with the smallest waist in bodybuilding, Mr. Jeremy Potvin. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Feels good to be on here. Yeah.
It's good, man. So I wanted to have you on for a whole bunch of different reasons, but while we were talking, you said something about getting married next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Getting married, heading to Montana, a little destination wedding. The 21st is the official day, so we're driving out. Got to leave a little early.
How long have you? Oh, you're driving out. Where are you at right now?
South Carolina.
How far is that drive?
We're gonna make it. It's about 31 hours total, so we're taking off probably tomorrow, and just so we can get there a little early.
Yeah. Why the road trip and not flying? Is it just for more bonding time?
Well, so we have our own vehicle. We have our dogs with us.
Okay.
Just get to enjoy it a little bit more. Rental cars are insanely expensive right now.
Yeah.
Especially out there. I think some people were saying if they're renting for a week, it's like $4,000.
Montana is not really like a normal destination wedding spot, but I've also heard it's very beautiful there. So why that choice?
Well, we've always wanted to go to Montana, and we figured why not kill two birds with one stone.
Nice.
We're going to be in the Big Sky area, close to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Close to the Grand Tetons or Tetons, whatever you want to call them. But
what is that the honeymoon too then? Because it's a destination spot?
No. We're trying to make it as fun as possible, but we're saving the honeymoon until all the restrictions are kind of lifted kind of worldwide. So we kind of don't have to not really enjoy what we want to do.
Yeah. How long have you been with your fiance?
It'll be 4 years by the time we get married.
Is your fiance involved in bodybuilding?
She is not, but she has been a fan of it. So she understands the sport. She's competed back in her teens.
Yeah. I get this question a lot from people about how to make a marriage or a relationship work when two people compete or one person competes. Have you guys ever had any trouble with that, or you guys kind of figured it out from day one?
I mean, it's like I said, we haven't known each other through her competing, so I would imagine though if we were prepping together, it would be miserable. I don't think it'd be an enjoyable experience. I'm a stubborn guy. I don't want to know how she gets when she's competing or low calories. So
yeah. That's cool. So 4 years, how'd you guys meet?
Through social media, through Instagram. Oh, yeah.
Is that
playing back and forth likes until one day somebody bounces somebody's DMs and just kind of.
How do you know how many likes that somebody's got to give you before you can approach them?
I don't know. It actually, it was just going back and forth, and we also followed each other on Snapchat back then. And I guess she was making a new Snapchat, so she had messaged me saying that she got a new Snapchat just so I could follow through with it.
Yeah.
Apparently, she was saying I didn't message her back for like 3 weeks or something like that.
You got like 1 million followers. You had an excuse. You're like, maybe I didn't see it. Yeah.
Well, at the time, what was I at? Probably like 100,000 or something. I had like 300,000 or so.
So you don't have that good excuse anymore at that point.
Yeah, it went out pretty quick.
That's cool, man. I want to kind of get into some of your past. I know you have military experience and all that, but the main reason I want to get you on, I think I want to touch on first, is the big news that you kind of told everyone was that you were switching from physique to classic, which is crazy because your physique record is amazing.
Mm-hmm. So
let's just get right into it. Why the switch from when you're doing so well in physique? Why the switch?
To me, bodybuilding is about progression. You should always want to strive for more, or at least strive for attaining your own personal goals. And I felt like with men's physique, I just really wasn't doing that. I'm still a smaller guy, but I really wasn't able to grow so much without looking way out of place.
What's your stage weight?
So right now I'm 153 pounds on stage.
What did you say 153?
Yeah, 153.
No way. I gotta show people your photos because that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I did my first Olympia, I was 150. And then this past Olympia in 2020 where I got fourth, I was 153.
That probably gives a lot of people a lot of hope, man, because there's probably a lot of little smaller guys that are like, I can never be a good pro, but like your record, I took a look at it and I'm like, everything's in the top 5 except for 1 year you were 10th at the Olympia, but that's the Olympia.
Yeah.
So like, that's pretty incredible.
I mean, I've done fairly well in men's physique. You know, I felt like I got to a point where I don't really have anything left to prove. I've never been that kind of guy to chase titles per se. It's more about, you know, my own personal goals. You know, if I can accomplish that and accomplish the look I want, and that lands me in a top spot, then awesome. But you know, I feel like in such a subjective sport, it's not always the best to get caught up in chasing titles.
That's a really different way to look at it, because most people think the natural progression is, you know, you chase it until you win and then move on or whatever. But you're saying your definition of success in your mind for men's physique was, this is the best I will look at men's physique, or this is what I envisioned in my mind, and that's good enough for you.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a year where I did chase the title, and I felt like with that mentality, it just kind of set me up for failure. It set me up for kind of being in a disappointing place. And after that, I was just kind of like, oh, why am I doing this to myself? You know, the feedback's always the same. It's always, you know, coming tighter. It's like, so it's generic. So,
okay. So before we go on, because you're saying these things that I'm still blown away. Coming tighter seems like a strange. I'm going to show people some of your photos before I go on about you, so they can see what I'm talking about. For whoever doesn't follow Jeremy, he's got 1.2 million followers. It's Jeremy Potvin _ on Instagram. These are some of your photos. So, I mean, this is shreds. Like, I don't know how much leaner you can get. The striations in your chest, and that's not even a chest pose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, if you look at that video down a couple rows of me getting a tan, I mean, that was the night before the Olympia. So I felt like I did a pretty good job bringing my conditioning.
Oh my God. Dude, that's like inside out field. So there's got to be some reason they were saying that, though. Is there something that's not translating to the stage?
You know, personally, I'm not too sure. I think for me, the biggest issue and why I don't get too concerned with chasing titles is for one, in men's physique, I have my own idea of what men's physique should be. And if I'm being honest, I don't feel like I fit that mold. I do feel like I'm a little bit more bubbly, at least when I'm fuller. I feel like, I don't know, I don't have like the best abs. I don't have the best insertions where my chest inserts and stuff like that. So it's not really a men's physique look. And, you know, I got to a point where I've been dealing with knee issues for so long, and I've been dealing with half-assed knee training. And now I've kind of felt like I figured that out, and it's kind of motivated me to make that push to really try to push and challenge myself and make that jump.
You said you don't have, what is the men's physique? You said you don't think you have like the look for men's physique. What do you think the look is? Because I think like when I look at your physique, I'm like, I don't know, man. I know you're bubblier than most, I guess, but you know, the tiny little waist, flaring shoulders. I mean, good back development. That's kind of what I see as men's physique. But what do you think men's physique is?
I think I look at somebody like either Ryan Terry or Andre Ferguson, and to me that's a good representation of what men's physique is in my eyes. You know, great abs, great muscular development, but it's not overpowering. It's not too much. You know, if those guys wanted to push it, I'm sure they could, but there's no need to.
I can see what you're saying there. So now that your knee issues are better, you think you can develop the legs enough that you can get on? Are your legs already where they want to be, or do you want to get them bigger?
No, I got a lot of work to do. You know, I'm not. I'm very realistic with my goals and how I view myself. So my plan is to take about a year to really push the growth. I've never had a grow season. I've never tried to push growth. So I know if I really try to do that, I'll be pretty capable of doing, you know, something decent.
Do you think, were you happy in the men's physique class, or did you always feel like you wanted to show more?
I always wanted to show more. I was just, you know, I think a big thing for a long time was my mentality. I didn't have that strong of a mentality, especially when it came to leg training. I always looked for excuses to why I wouldn't push myself.
Yeah.
But, you know, over the last couple of years, my mentality's completely changed. And I've done what I could with the issues that I was facing. And now I feel like I said, I've gotten a grasp on it.
Yeah.
And, you know, the last couple of months, I've really been able to push it. And it feels good. You know?
Can you describe that mentality a bit that held you back? Is there anything you can point to that you might be able to be a little more specific about for people listening?
Uh, you know, like I said, for me, it's always been a constant. Could I grow, or do I need to stay the same with men's physique? When I started growing, I was always told to kind of hold off.
Okay.
My training mentality was always, not balls to the wall,
Yeah.
at least over the last few years.
Yeah.
So that kind of changed. And then also learning how to properly push yourself, especially through a good leg day.
Yeah.
And the way you need to feel, the way your mind needs to feel.
Yeah.
It's all new, but I love it.
Do you think there's an excitement that comes with the idea of more progression? Because I always,
Absolutely.
when I think of the men's physique class, and I think of this with classic too, especially because there's weight limits, I always wonder to myself, do guys get frustrated because they want to progress, but they can't? Especially as a men's physique guy, like you kind of have to stay in a certain look. So is that frustrating for you, or is it exciting for you now that you just get to break that mold?
Yeah, it's exciting. So
Yeah.
like when I was competing men's physique and training, I kind of lost excitement. I was always that kind of person where I was trying to either maybe go to a different gym to try to find that excitement, train with new people, do a bunch of different things to really find that excitement. But it was always just temporary.
Yeah.
It was never long lasting. And I feel like making this transition is bringing that passion back, bringing that excitement back. Knowing that I could push myself and I still have a ton of room to grow if I ever want to get that big.
Yeah. What is your weight cap for how tall are you?
5'6", so I believe it's 180
And you're 153 on stage.
on stage. Yeah.
So you still, you have like 25 pounds?
Yeah. So got a lot of room to grow. Absolutely.
Dude, you're going to look like a freak with 25 pounds on.
I mean, if I could get that 25 pounds, but I feel like it's not necessary to
No.
put on that size.
No.
My goal is, like I said, I just want to create a good, nice, balanced, flowing physique.
Yeah.
Something, at least the first time I step on stage, my goal is just to have people say like, okay, there's potential there. Like he looks good, because I know I'm not going to be able to build enough size or mass in a year for me to be competitive with the top guys. That's just not going to happen.
Well, not to blow smoke up your ass, but like if you put 10 pounds on your legs alone,
yeah,
I mean, your upper body looks comparable to, I mean, it could be an illusion. I know you said you're 153, so it could be an illusion from the photos.
Yeah.
But your body looks big enough to stand with a lot of the guys in the classic division.
I mean, I think my upper body is not far behind. It definitely, I think, not much more work to really be comparable. But, I look at, say, for example, guys like, I'm by no means.
Yeah. Who did you compare yourself to, or who are you kind of looking at?
I look at, I'm taking it back, but I see a physique like Leo Labrada.
Okay.
And I think it's beautiful. It's not necessarily the biggest, it doesn't have the biggest legs, the biggest back, the biggest arms or anything. Yeah. But everything just flows so nicely. It looks good. It in my mind, proportion wise, that's something I'd like to try to create.
Yeah, I think that's achievable. I mean, I think Lee Labrada wasn't over 190 on stage.
Yeah.
If I'm correct. So, I mean, yeah, you have some weight to put on, but that's unachievable.
Yeah.
So I see some other guys from the classic, from men's physique, kind of making a switch to classic. I think Jeremy Buendia is probably the most notable. Do you think it's going to be a common trend that people are kind of making this switch?
I think it's definitely something a lot of people want to do, but a lot of these men's physique guys, they're close to that weight cap, at least the ones that have the potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes it very interesting to see if they could make it, because I know Jeremy Buendia, for example, steps on stage in the 180s in men's physique.
Yeah.
So he's probably about an inch taller than me. So I don't know if his weight cap is too much higher or not.
Yeah.
But, him, Brandon Hendrickson, I know, he's close to that weight cap as well. And, these are guys that have great legs.
Do they have great legs? I've never seen are they guys that look like they're already almost at the weight cap, but their legs aren't big enough? Or do they have great legs and they just cover them up with shorts?
I think to be competitive classic, and it's not throwing shade at anybody because there's still amazing leg development, but work would need to be done.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, they don't have too much room to grow. I feel like I was in a very lucky position in that, I have very small joints, very round muscle bellies. I have a lot of room to grow, so it helps. But for those guys that do have room, I think this might help a lot of people make that decision if they want to jump.
Yeah. Do you think, when I go to some local shows, I see like the men's physique classes are usually the biggest classes.
Mhm.
And I think part of that is it's the easiest barrier. There's no barrier to entry. Like you can be small guy and still get on stage in men's physique. You can't really do that in bodybuilding. You kind of have to develop a shape first. But do you think classic is going to be the new thing? Like at all the shows, like more guys are going to be jumping into classic than men's physique.
I can't say no, but I can't say yes. I still think that lower body development is something that a lot of people really have to learn how to push or to reach that.
Yeah.
Because it's completely different from training anything else.
Yeah.
So,
but just on a whole, like looking at the landscape of bodybuilding, because I see it as I don't really compete anymore, but just as an open class bodybuilder looking back at the sport, I think to myself, man, classic is really getting a lot of attention, and I think it could be the biggest division one day.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely think it could be. It is extremely marketable. It's a good look, me, for example, when I first started my men's physique journey into bodybuilding, I was a fan of bodybuilding, but I never thought I would ever want to get as big as an open bodybuilder or even a 212 guy. So, I still have that mentality. I don't want to get that big.
So you've never had a passion for that? You never wanted to be a freak?
I admired it.
Yeah.
I admired the hell out of it. When I was coming up, I was reading the magazine, especially when I was deployed.
Yeah.
I was always seeing guys like yourself, Branch Warren, Jay Cutler. Those guys were my motivation. So,
yeah.
But, I was 130 some odd pounds when I started getting into it. So I was like, there's no way in hell I could ever get that big. And
so it's not as much a thing of like, because I'll be honest with you, and I won't be offended. Like when I first looked at bodybuilding, the very, very first time, because I used to read a lot of Men's Health and shit like that when I was like 18, 19.
Yeah.
And the first time I looked at like a Flex magazine, I saw Dorian Yates on the cover. I was like, I don't want to look like that. I'm like, that's stupid. So I would never be offended if you said like, no, it's too much for me. But is it something like you would want to do, but your genetic limitations, or you're just like, that's too much for me?
Personally, it's too much for me. Like I said, I admire it. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah.
I think it's like when I see it, I'm like, holy shit, like it's amazing. It's impressive to me. But me personally, I wouldn't want to get to that point.
Yeah. So where do you think Lee Labrada is the ideal for you? That's where you see like what you want.
That is, I feel like that's I mean, shoot, even as a men's physique competitor, my lungs, my cardiovascular endurance aren't the greatest. So I'm just like, if I keep adding weight, it's going to be uncomfortable. And I'm not even a big guy.
So you said you were 130 when you started. So let's go back to 130. How did that start? Like you just want to get bigger, or like, what was it?
So, all right. The true start of it was when I graduated high school. I was 116 pounds when I graduated high school. So,
man,
I was a small kid.
Yeah.
So when I started working out when I was deployed and started seeing those changes, I was like, holy crap, I could actually grow a little bit. Like, I don't have to be this skinny.
Yeah.
That's when it all started just kind of snowballing from there. I started getting into stuff, not PEDs, but actual supplements, taking my Cell Tech and things of that sort.
Yeah. Let's go back though. You skipped over a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't want to go back all the way to family life. We might touch on that later, but let's go back to deployment, because I'm super fascinated by people who are in the military.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I don't think I could have ever done, because I'm really bad at taking orders, because I'm just an ass like that. But I have friends who've done it, and I see guys in the league who've done it, and I'm just very fascinated by it. But what happened? So what happened after high school that made you want to deploy to the Army?
It was kind of instilled in me, I guess. My grandfather was in the military. My father was in the military. And I just kind of always grew up in that military mindset, that military household. And I've always been the kind of person where I want to give back or serve my community, country, or whatever you call it. Even now, I'd still love to be a police officer. Just afford to do that.
Yeah.
But it's just always been a sense of serving.
So it's kind of like in your family lineage. So you just, growing up, did you think like that's what I'm going to do one day, or did it just?
As I got older and closer to graduating, so like 2 years from graduating, was when I kind of committed to serving the military. So I had to have my parents sign off at an early age so that when I did graduate, I can go right into basic training.
Yeah.
And
how old do you have to be to sign up for? I'm sorry if I'm asking like really simple questions, but I actually don't even know the whole process. So how old do you have to be to sign up for the Army? 18?
18 on your own.
Okay. So
you're why my parents had to sign off on it.
So did you go into the military before you were 18?
I didn't, but it's this, it's called the delayed entry program is what I was a part of. So I took part in that for a year.
Okay.
Throughout my last year of high school, just kind of learning the ins and outs of military life, going to your recruiter station and kind of doing all that fun stuff.
Yeah. What is that fun stuff? Like, is that like the whole thing you see in the movies where like they teach you how to make your bed and like all that shit?
Well, it's more of the physical fitness stuff. So they teach you how to like march, basic common orders and things like that. Exercising and just kind of getting you in shape for basic training.
Is it like the movies where they yell in your face and shit or no?
When you get to basic training, it is. So, not anymore though. It got pretty soft.
Okay. So wait, before you fast forward to today, so you do the delayed entry, you finish high school, and then where do you go? Like, how do you start? So you're living and then where do you go to start?
So, where do you go? So you go to your maps. I can't remember what it's called. MEPS, I think. Okay. It's like this area where you go where do you swear in first? I'm trying to remember. This was a long time ago.
It's okay if we kind of bounce around some of it.
Basically, they give you your orders. You know where you're going to go to basic training. And I believe you go to that place where you originally signed up for or swore in. And from there, you either fly or take a shuttle bus to your basic training spot. Mine was in Oklahoma.
Okay. So when you get to basic training, you get on this bus or on a plane and you get there and you're with all these guys you bunch of people you've never met before, right? Or did you have friends that went?
No, don't know anybody.
Okay. So so what's that? Is that weird? Is everybody cool or is everybody quiet and it's weird or like, what's that like?
A combination, there's people that are definitely freaking out, people that are kind of joking around, but once you get to your duty station, it's pretty much drill sergeants get on the bus and they start yelling in your face to get your bags off. So I think if I'm not mistaken, you get like one backpack that you have to bring with you.
Yeah.
You have your clothes or personal items with you.
Yeah.
And that's when the yelling starts and you got to start learning really quick on how to take orders.
What's that like for you? Did you have a strict upbringing, like family life?
I did. I wouldn't say it was like super strict, but my parents did a good job raising me and my siblings. I felt like they good morals and good discipline. I was a troublemaker as a kid, but I got punished for it.
Okay, I'm kind of jumping around, but now I'm curious. How many siblings did you have?
I have 3 siblings. I have 2 sisters and an older brother.
Are you so you're in the middle?
I'm a middle child.
The middle child is always a troublemaker. That's how it is. So what kind of trouble did you get into? Like serious trouble or just like?
Oh no, serious trouble.
Like what?
I mean, I was a good kid, but I hung around a lot of bad people and didn't make the best decisions. So, there's one time I got so high in high school. I was with a buddy. We pulled over to the side of the road because we couldn't drive anymore.
Yeah.
This was at night, but I woke up with a flashlight in my face and I'm like,
what kind of high? Are you talking about weed?
Yeah.
Okay. So go on. I'm sorry. Go on.
But yeah, I woke up with a flashlight in my face. I was still pretty high, but it was a cop basically, telling us to get out of the car and we had to call our parents. I was still 17 at that time, but I had to call my parents to come pick us up.
What'd your parents do?
So
my parents would have beat my fucking ass.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was grounded. I was definitely grounded for a while. But at least, like I said, I didn't cause any harm or nobody else got in trouble. It was just me and my buddy. That was one of the times. Another time I did get a DWI. Or no, a DUI. So it was driving under the influence. A weed
again, or was it alcohol?
No, it was alcohol. It was literally a beer.
Oh, it was one of those. Yeah.
Cops looking for a reason to pull you over, and I had like a BAC of like 0.04 or something like that.
Oh, that sucks.
But my parents took away my car. They ended up selling it, and my dad got a truck for himself. And I was like, that was a decent punishment right there.
So your dad's like, your dad sold your car
to get himself a truck. Yeah, he was like,
that's savage. That's like probably the best punishment I've ever heard.
Oh God, I got home from school. My parents were like, "Hey, we're gonna go to McDonald's. You want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah." No, they went to the dealership.
Are you serious? Holy fuck.
I didn't have a license anymore, so
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're good with it.
What kind of car did you drive?
Then little Ford Tempo.
Okay.
1993 Ford Tempo, and then they got me a brand new Chevy Aveo, which looked like an egg. You know, you got to be appreciative towards these things that your parents get you, but at the same time, I was like, it was kind of embarrassing.
So were you guys well off growing up, or?
I want to say well off, but we were comfortable. You know, my dad was a hard worker.
Yeah.
He worked for the government and was doing all right. You know, couldn't go do anything crazy, but everything was always taken care of.
Yeah. Did your mom work or no?
She did. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So is that like some of your work ethic obviously comes from watching your parents work?
Oh yeah. Like I said, my dad didn't come from much. My mom grew up in poverty in the Philippines. So like I said, all that was taught to me was work hard and you'll get what you deserve or what you work for, really.
Yeah, that's true. Going back to basic training. So when you're the new kid and you're on the bus and you get there and they start yelling at you, is it shell shock, or did you were you already told stories about it, or what?
I think it wasn't necessarily shell shock. I think I just had the right mentality going into it, just like you do when you go into war. You kind of just, I think I'm realistic in my expectations. Like I know shit's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's the military, you know, you're not going to talk back, or at least that's the way it was then, you know?
Yeah.
So I figured just shut my mouth, do what I'm told, and I'll be fine.
After you get off the bus, where do they take you? What do you do? Like, what's some of the first things you got to get started?
They line you up. So just like you're in a, how do you call that?
Like a formation.
Yeah. So they put you in formation. They kind of go over the basics of everything. And then that's when you walk up or walk to your bunks or where you're going to be sleeping. Yeah. So when I was there, it was, our whole platoon was in one big room, you know, just the bunk beds lined throughout. And you have like one locker for yourself, all your personal items, all the things you get issued. But yeah, I can't remember exactly what happened after that, but the rest of the training was pretty shitty.
Did you play sports in high school?
Just soccer. Soccer. Played a little bit of football, but I didn't stick through that. Like I said, I was a super small kid. Soccer was probably the best thing that fit me.
Yeah. The reason I ask is, and this could be something that you just get from movies and it's not really realistic, but when I see the whole, like the barracks and the bunks and all the guys, you know, staying, I feel like there's probably that same sense of camaraderie you'd get in a locker room if you played football or any other sport. Is that real, or is that something they just show you in the movies?
No, it's real. The camaraderie you form in the military is unlike anything else. You will never have friendships or people that you felt closer with. Yeah. So it's just, like I said, these guys that you're in there with, you just never know if they're going to be saving your life one day, or, you know, vice versa. So you kind of really learn pretty quick how to trust these people that you're with.
How long were you in the military before? Like what year did you enter the military?
2007.
So it's kind of like the height of the Iraq War. Like, I think the surge was around then.
Well, that was around 2003, 2004, but it was still pretty big when I joined. That's right around when I deployed to Iraq. That's when Iraq was still popping off, but that's when Afghanistan was really starting to
go crazy again.
Yeah.
So how long were you in basic training? Like, in basic training, obviously they're teaching you how to shoot a gun. Do you target practice? Is there any like hand-to-hand combat stuff, or they don't do that?
We do a little bit of it. So they what the hell do we call it? Army combatives. Is what we called it. So, you know, you're just kind of rolling around. It's basically like wrestling combined with a bunch of different martial arts. You don't really go through too much stand-up. But so you do some combatives while you're there. You're shooting. Just kind of the basics. Learn how to work the radios, land navigation.
Did you drive any like military vehicles? Did they teach you how to do that or no?
I don't think you do that in basic. I
Okay.
don't think we did that in basic, but once you get to your actual duty station, that's when you start going over more of that stuff.
When you say duty station, do you mean, is that deployment or is there a different place you go to in
So,
America?
so what happens is you go to basic training, and
Yeah.
that's where they teach you literally the basics of what you need to know.
Yeah.
Then you go to your advanced individual training. So whatever your job is, you go to that training to learn your actual job.
Okay.
And then,
What was your job?
so I was a human intelligence collector. So it's
Shit.
essentially kind of an interrogator slash on-site exploitation guy. It was a bunch of different stuff that's tied into what I do.
That sounds badass.
It was fun. During deployment, it was fun. Going through the schooling sucked.
Why?
So schooling, my dad was special forces, so he was a Green Beret.
Really?
Did all that like pretty badass stuff. He was a Halo jump master, which is your high altitude, low uplink. He was a demo guy, sniper. So my dad, when I was joining the military, he really didn't want me to do anything infantry related.
Okay.
Especially at the height of the war. However, I ended up doing a lot of that stuff because of what I was doing anyway. But so shit, I got lost.
No, you were talking about being an interrogator. And
So I was an interrogator, on-site exploitation guy. So I do a lot of on-site stuff. We'd go to, let's say if we had a mission, we had to go raid this house. I did a lot of searching the house and then interrogating the guy at the location.
Did you learn to speak Arabic or no?
I learned a little bit, but I did a lot of it through translators as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were obviously the main guy that walked in and kind of got all the information from whoever was there.
Yeah, we were the first guys through the door.
Crazy.
So, it was kind of, especially when you're deployed, it was a little interesting because booby traps and stuff of that sort. I'd never had to deal with it, so I got lucky in that sort of sense. But
are you okay? Are you okay talking about this stuff?
Yeah, there's some things I talk about, some things that
you just want to leave out. Yeah.
Well, there's some things I can't talk about too. So
really,
my job required a top secret clearance.
This is insane. I'm like this. I have like this whole podcast could end up being a military podcast. I hope you're okay with that. No, because it's fascinating to me, especially like some of these different, areas that you work in. I just like, so when you leave, they teach you how to be an interrogator. And how do they teach you to be an interrogator? They just interrogate you, or like?
It's a lot of schooling. So the course that I went through has a very high fail rate. It's basically 8 months. I want to say it was 8 months of school.
Why is it a high fail rate? Just like
it's a lot of work, a lot of reporting. You have to understand the topic. You have to understand what you're doing. You have to do it right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of follow-up. Basically, they grade you on how well you're doing your reports, how well you can get the information. And that's something a lot of people lose sight of really quick. You feel like you ask a question and you're done, but there could be 20 follow-up questions to that one question.
Yeah.
So
is it a lot of psychology or no?
Definitely. You definitely have to learn how to read people.
Yeah.
Cues, body language. There's a ton.
I feel like that would be really valuable in normal life. Do you kind of use it without thinking about it?
I do, but it could also get you in trouble.
Why?
Well, like if you're in an argument, like with my fiance, for example, there's a lot of times where I'm just like, you're not telling me everything. Like, let's keep this going. It's like, oh man.
So, that's so good. What about like, I wonder if it would help like negotiating contracts or like trying to buy a car. Like, can you?
I think it definitely could.
But do you ever use it like that or
no? Like I'm horrible in negotiating contracts, for one, because I don't understand, how much social media plays into everything. I'm just kind of like, I don't know how much I should be asking for.
Yeah. Sure, that's so interesting. So, okay. So when you leave schooling and they deploy you, what year is it at that point? That's 2007 then?
So 2007 to 2008 was basically my training.
Yeah.
And then I got to my duty station, which is where you're actually stationed stateside.
Okay.
So mine was at Fort Lewis, Washington. And that's where these are the group of people that you'll be deploying with if you end up deploying. Like, this is who you go through everything with, your training, further training. And basically, these are the people that you're going to be trusting with your life.
So at that point, you're forming some serious bonds because you know that person's going to be there for
Yeah. So there's like, a handful of people that I, followed me from basic training up until this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, a bunch of my friends that I made through the training, they go to other duty stations and other units.
Yeah.
But these people at my duty station, these are the guys that I'm going to end up deploying with.
Okay. So when you deployed and you get to Iraq, like, what's that like? Your first, like, you jump off the plane and then what? Like, how does that feel?
First, we went to Kuwait for a couple weeks.
Okay.
Which is basically your where you get used acclimatizing, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get used to the environment. I mean, it was September 2009 when I got to Kuwait, and it was like 120 degrees. It was hot as shit.
Yeah.
So you spend your 2 weeks getting used to your sleep patterns, getting over jet lag, getting used to the heat. You don't really go through much training or anything while you're there in Kuwait.
Yeah.
And after that 2 weeks, you fly off to where you're going to be stationed in Iraq or Afghanistan.
Is that like in the green zone, like where everybody's kind of safe? Or
in Kuwait? Yes.
Okay.
When you first get to, when I first flew into Iraq, I did fly into Baghdad. So it was pretty safe. That main base there, I think, is Camp Victory.
Okay.
And then from there, we did a convoy to the actual station where I would be at. So I was actually stationed at JSS Justice for the first 3 months of my deployment. And that base is actually where they ended up hanging Saddam.
Really?
So, yeah, it was pretty interesting to go there. And I was actually the liaison for the prison. So, I worked directly with the general there, the Iraqi general. And that's where I got my first real taste of like how savage shit could be.
Why? Can you talk about anything?
The first,
actually, before you, okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the first time where I realized it was kind of like, oh shit, these are the people I'm gonna be dealing with is, the general's like, hey, look at this, this folder here. And, I open up the folder and it's like this 8-year-old kid who's been burned to death by like white phosphorus.
Yeah.
And he was burned to death because I guess he was talking to some U.S. troops. And next thing you know, the Iraqi general brings in the guy who did it. So I'm like, standing next to a guy who just killed this 8-year-old kid. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, I want to beat the shit out of this guy right now.
Yeah.
This guy deserves to die. And here he is, standing in the same room next to me.
Yeah.
Can't really do anything at that point.
So did they take, like, did you see them do anything to the guy?
No, he just wanted to show me. I think it was kind of like the general's way of like welcoming me into the environment, really. It was interesting,
I wonder what the purpose of that is.
I don't know, just maybe make sure I can deal with it. Maybe make sure that, I'm not going to be a little bitch, or I'm not going to do what needs to be done, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 20. So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you totally forget sometimes that, you guys are, when you start, you're like 19 to like 20 years old. I was at a bar drinking my face off. Like, and I can't imagine being in that situation.
So you got to grow up quick.
So when you leave, you said you went on a convoy. So, and correct me if I'm using the wrong terminology, but so Baghdad's a safe green zone area, I guess. Is that what you call it?
Parts of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get in a convoy and you leave that area. So you're kind of going through some more dangerous areas, or
on the road, you never know what's going to happen.
That's right.
How a lot of troops get injured is through IEDs.
So the first time you left, was that scary, or do you kind of feel safe because you're with your boys?
No, it's scary. Especially the first time. Like every first experience in country, it's scary.
What was it like? You riding in a Humvee?
I was in MRAP, so it was one of the bigger up armored vehicles.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that.
I think I know what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in one of those, but like I said, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. Nothing happened to us on that convoy or anything.
But you still feel anxious even being in that vehicle with your friends, all with your weapons and everything. Doesn't matter. You're still scared. Yeah.
Because I mean, it's war. You just never know what could happen.
Yeah. And I'm not, I'm not at all trying to diminish the feeling. I just, the whole thing is fascinating to me because I'm like,
Yeah.
first of all, you're 20 years old. Second of all, you're in a different country altogether. And you're really, the only safety net you have is how many guys you're with.
Pretty much. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you rely on your body armor and the people that are with you. And
Yeah. Can you give me maybe one of the best experiences you had or most victorious type of experiences you had while you were there? Like, I don't know how much you can say, but
yeah, I mean,
was there anything really positive that happened in your time there?
there definitely is, you know, because, you know, the whole war has always been, you know, shrouded with, oh, you know, these people are just there killing innocent people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, a lot of people don't see how grateful some of the people from the country are.
So you mean there's a lot of American sentiment that was against you because they thought or maybe people in general around the world thought you were there killing people, but
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the general concept, you know, the general
Yeah.
idea. A
Yeah.
lot of the war is like, well, why did we go over? We went over for fake reasons, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So of course, you know, you're gonna have a lot of people like, oh, you're just there killing innocent women and children and all that. But when you're there and you're doing your job and people are coming to you because they're looking out for their own safety.
Yeah.
And they're grateful that you're there. So
what you're saying basically is on the ground, it was a very different sentiment.
it was, you know, depending on the area.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Is there a really bad, like, were you ever in like a firefight?
More indirect fire, more
Yeah.
rocket attacks. So that was like a
Rocket attacks.
Yeah, that was mortars, things of that sort. So that was
What's that like?
Scary as shit. Scary as shit.
To put it mildly.
Yeah, you hear sometimes you don't hear much until you hear the boom or
Really?
you hear the whistle, then you hear the boom. And I remember the first time it really scared the shit out of me. It was one evening and one of them just went off and I ran from my chew into the bunker and they were just kind of walking them in. So, you know, the booms would get closer. So the rockets were landing, you know, getting really close. And that was the first time I prayed for my life, I guess you could say.
Really?
Just like, oh shit. But, you know, I've lost some friends, you know, at that base due to some of the indirect fire that we've had.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've gotten pretty close to, I want to say the closest I've gotten to having a rocket land on me was probably 40 feet.
That's so crazy, man.
Oh, it was like I was walking to my office and one landed right there on the fire department that was kind of by our office building. And I was like, oh shit.
So how long total were you there? 2 years, you said?
A year overseas.
A year overseas. And how is there a period of time where you get desensitized to anything, or is it always just intense? Like, do you ever get used to the bombs or used to the gunfire or used to?
You don't really get used to it. But I guess you're feeling, the first time I remember, I thought it was exciting that I was looking for action.
I get it.
But very first time, you know, rocket attack happened, I was like, holy shit, like this is pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Then, you know, somebody dies and it kind of is not as exciting anymore.
I was just going to say, is it when something happens to somebody, you realize it's not fun?
Yeah.
It's really real.
Yeah. When you realize just how much shit can change really quick.
I think that's what, and I'm obviously generalizing, and I don't want to obviously speak for everybody, but I kind of feel like that's the general feeling for most people that never have been to war. Is it's exciting. But I don't think anybody's ever like been through, like, the people that think that, I guess, have never seen it up close and seen anybody injured. So maybe they don't realize that's why it's actually a lot more terrifying than exciting.
Yeah.
Because I would think the same thing you thought. Like you said, the first time was exciting, right?
Yeah.
But then once something real happened, I'd be like, oh shit, this is
Because like I said, at that point, you just kind of realize that like things could change really, really quick, or that could be you.
Yeah.
So there was a big period of time where, going to take a shower, I was freaked out to walk from my room to the shower or to the bathrooms.
Yeah.
I was just like, I just don't know if a rocket's going to like land on me.
Yeah. Wow, man. That's okay. So, sorry to anybody who's listening, this has become a military podcast, but I'm just, like I said, I'm really interested in this stuff. So, and I apologize to you too, because I know we didn't intend for it to be a military podcast.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Is where did bodybuilding start though? Like you said, after high school, you were 113. And so then you go to the military. Do you start getting interested in bodybuilding while you're in the military?
No, it wasn't until deployment.
Until deployment.
Yeah.
So what happened? How did that come about?
Well, I was, already into the normal training and the normal PT that we would do while at home at our duty station. And so when I had the time during deployment, and it was also helping with relieving the stress and the shit that you just go through every day, I started, picking up the muscular developments, all the bodybuilding magazines. They had, I can't remember what someone's, you could buy the Celtec, you can buy your Synthesix.
Yeah.
You can buy your pre-workouts at the little shopette.
Sure.
And on my downtime, I just go to the gym, and so I started seeing the progression and kind of became obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I'd start watching those YouTube videos, those motivational videos of, all bodybuilders kind of working out. Yeah. And that's when I started really falling in love with it. Like I said, what's that?
Sorry to interrupt. Do you think there's a lot of military guys that, because, a lot of people here, and I've said it a million times, like bodybuilding is like training is my therapy. Mm-hmm. But I would assume in that scenario, it's actually your therapy. Like, do you think a lot of military guys get into it just to kind of relieve stress and like
Absolutely.
refocus?
1,000,000%.
Really?
That was the main reason why I started doing it. It was just something to do that was, had purpose, and it helped your mental.
Yeah. So, does the military provide you guys with like a badass gym, or how does that work?
Depending, usually their fitness facilities are pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was lucky enough where the base I was at when I was deployed, granted it got attacked a lot, but we had decent facilities. So like the gym there wasn't bad.
So you're like, it's a trade-off. You're like, I get attacked a lot.
Yeah, but
I got great equipment.
So,
but I got great equipment, so it's okay.
And food. The food there was awesome. So
is it? Do they provide you guys with like a good amount of, like, do you eat however much you want, or is it like set meals?
No, you can go and walk through the line a few times. They said I was very fortunate in the fact that the place I was at was rather developed.
Set up, yeah.
It was just, you can go there, you can get stir fry. It was pretty awesome. But there's some.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say there's some people that, that were part of my unit where they were stuck in tents and eating, their MREs.
Oh.
But at the same time, some of those people weren't dealing with shit. So
yeah, it's a trade-off.
Yeah, it's a trade-off. But obviously the guys who went to Afghanistan had it like 10 times worse.
So it's good. So it was good for your bodybuilding career because you got to train. How much downtime do you have every day? Like how much interrogation are you doing versus hanging out versus training? Like how does that work?
Not a lot of downtime at all. Like, I think literally the only downtime I had was, I had to ask my boss, like, hey, can I go work out? Like, we don't have a mission coming up.
Yeah.
That was basically it. So literally a couple hours out of the day, aside from your sleep, which wasn't the easiest either. Cause with what I did, I was part of the quick reaction force too. Okay. So if something happened, you're going outside of the wire and figuring out who did what.
Yeah. So being the interrogation guy, you probably have to be on every, there's probably a few of you, but like you would be on every call, right?
Well, so like I said, my thing wasn't strictly interrogations. Mm-hmm. A lot of what we were utilized for was more of like getting on site and doing the investigative work there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And talking to people and kind of figuring out what the hell's going on, or somebody out there knows what's going on, or knows somebody who did a certain thing or conducted a certain attack or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I think, sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
I was just essentially, I was part of what was called a multifunction team. So
Okay.
We did a lot. There was a big range of things that we covered.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's another misconception, or at least on my part anyways, that you have more downtime than I would assume, or that you don't have as much downtime as I would assume.
Oh yeah,
I thought you guys maybe had so many units that everybody got to chill for quite a bit of time each day.
yeah.
I
Well,
didn't
for us, there was 2 teams that
yeah.
kind of did the same thing that we did, and both of those were from the same unit. So you figure 2 teams, and these teams consisted of 5 people.
Yeah.
5 to 7 people. So you have 14 people for a whole area. It's not that much.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it was 14 because the other team only had 3 people that I was there with. So there was about 8 of us for the whole area. And even the other team, they ran strictly interrogations and running sources, while my team, we actually went outside of the wire and did a lot more of the actually on ground stuff.
Yeah. So how many times did you ask to go work out and your boss was like, no, you can't? Was that ever happen, or were you able to get workouts in whenever you needed to?
He was pretty lenient with it. You know, he knew that I was falling in love with it, and he was a guy who kind of understood the training aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But it honestly, this is where my downfall in bodybuilding kind of happened too, as well as deployed, because there was one day I was training legs with my boss and another person, and you know, we were going heavy on box squats, things of that sort at that time. I still don't really know what I was doing. But the next day, my boss was so sore, like he could barely walk. And at night, was it night? Yeah, I believe it was nighttime. At nighttime, we got a rocket attack that night, and he couldn't run to the bunker. So we're like, yeah. So like me and my other buddy, we're kind of like, you know, trying to drag him to the bunker, and we get outside of our building, and he just says, "Fuck it," and he dives in between 2 cars, and he was like, I can't fucking make it. Like, holy my legs aren't letting me run. So at that point, he literally said, no more leg days. so I developed that mentality of like, fuck leg days early on.
So the don't skip leg day thing doesn't apply to the military.
I mean, shit, if you can't fucking move and you're running for your life, like, it's a good reason there.
You know what's awesome that you said that? I've always wondered to myself, and this is going to sound so fucked up to people listening, but I thought to myself, you know, and your legs are sore like the day after training and you can't move. Mm-hmm. I thought, what if somebody breaks into my house? What am I going to do? Like, will my adrenaline kick in and I won't feel my legs, or will my legs still fuck me up? Yeah. And now you're telling me in that scenario, which is probably the worst scenario I can imagine, the pain's still there.
Yeah. And that was probably one of the craziest attacks too, because I remember that was the first time I thought we were getting a machine gun fire at the front gate, because I was hearing like a, but my boss told me that those were just the propellers of the mortars, like flying right by our heads, right over us. So, wow. So like I said, if for him, like the adrenaline of that wasn't enough to kind of get him to move to the bunker, and the bunker was only about like 20 more feet.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you guys really killed him on leg day.
Well, I mean, he's the one who took us through it. So
basically, your boss in the military was responsible for you doing men's physique.
I mean, for developing those poor habits of, no, I don't really need to train legs. Yeah.
That's such a crazy story.
Yeah.
So how fast did you put on weight with all the free food and the training, and like, was it easy to put on weight, or were you so busy that you kind of were burning through calories too easily?
No, I think I gained a pretty amount of size, because, you know, when I linked back up just before heading home with all the people that hadn't seen me throughout that year, but they were part of my unit.
Yeah.
They were like, holy shit, you know, like I think I got up to about 150, 155.
That's a drastic change, man.
That was just, like I said, I mean, I wasn't taking anything. I was just, you know, drinking my protein, drinking my Cell Tech. Like I said, I think at that time was fucking magic.
This is like a Muscle Tech ad for people.
Yeah. So
I think everybody back then took Cell Tech.
Yeah. Everybody was like, oh man, I think everybody thought I was on steroids. They're like, dude, you must have the most expensive piss in Iraq right now. Yeah. I was just like, no.
Well, you put on 35 fucking pounds. I would think you're on steroids too. So if you don't mind me asking, you started PEDs, okay, let me ask you this question first before we get to that. When you got back and you'd put on 35 pounds or whatever, when did you decide you wanted to compete? Was that while you were there you thought about competing, or was it when you got back?
It was actually when I got out of the military.
So when you got back.
So yeah, when I got back, and then so I got back in 2010, got out in 2012.
Wait, fuck, I'm so sorry, man. It's like 1,000 questions going through my head. When you get back, you said this 2-year gap there. What do you do in that 2 years, like before you're allowed to leave?
Well, so my options were to get out or get ready to go to Afghanistan. So my unit was scheduled for another deployment to Afghanistan.
Okay.
And if they went to Afghanistan, that meant I would have to extend my contract, and I was not ready to extend my contract. So
can I explain? I really understood this part of the military. So when you sign up,
mhm.
you sign a contract to sign up. You're
Yes.
like, I'm going to stay with you guys for how long is the contract?
So my initial contract was 5 years.
Is there different years, or are they all 5 years?
I think you can go in as low as 3 to start off.
So you went with 5 years. Is there a benefit to doing 5 over 3? Like, do you get paid more, or like
No,
you just decided 5 was the thing?
just more time in.
So, and then after the 5, it's just, so I guess it's kind of like a bodybuilding contract. After the 5, you can stay with them or you leave.
Yeah.
So you thought instead of going back to deployment, you were like, I've had enough.
I was ready to kind of see what else was out there for me. I kind of already had a game plan. My original plan was to actually go and join the Border Patrol. So I like taking tests and everything for that.
The Border Patrol, like on the Mexican border.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was your plan. So what happened to that?
The hiring process was ungodly long.
Yeah.
So like I took the test probably like half a year before I even got out of the military. I passed with flying colors, enough to give me a decent starting pay when I got out.
Yeah.
Including my combat experience or my experience in the military.
Yeah.
So, but what I didn't realize is the rest of the process, where you actually do your in-person interviews, your polygraphs and all that stuff, that took forever. And yeah, I couldn't afford to live doing nothing. So I ended up becoming a personal trainer at that point.
It seems so crazy to me that you'd have to go through such a long process after doing what you did in the military, or even just being in the military. You'd think that you've kind of accrued a certain credibility or background where they would just kind of speed you along a little bit.
Well, you get the availability to start off with higher pay for your experience, but the process is still relatively long. I think it's the same for everybody.
So 2 years after you got back, you're like, okay, I've had enough, I'm out. And then you went to personal train.
Yeah, I went home and I was trying to, I wasn't expecting that process to take forever. And then it got to the point where I was running out of money because, shit, I'd been out of the military for maybe like 5 months at this point and I wasn't working. So I had to do a job. My first job was working at a car dealership. I did that for a brief, probably 2 weeks. So
you didn't like selling cars?
Nope. I was like, this is not me.
I always tell people I think I would like to sell cars if I was. I don't know why I say that. I think it's just because I like cars, but why wasn't the car thing you? It was too boring?
Well, I mean, I'm an introverted person.
Okay.
I'm not one to go out there and be like, hey, buy a car for me. So I was scrolling Craigslist and saw that the Gold's Gym close to the area was hiring, and just so happened that the personal training director there, was a former Marine, or was a current Marine, and he liked my mindset and kind of liked my willingness to learn and all that. So he ended up hiring me, and that's when I found out pay was complete shit.
Yeah. So can I ask, I don't know if you want to divulge this information. I don't know if you can, but what do military personnel get paid? Obviously it's probably all different depending on what you do, but like, can you talk about what you got paid?
I think,
or ballpark. I don't even know. I'm just curious.
I want to say before I got out, it was around like $1,600 a month.
Okay.
So $1,600 a month, but that $1,600, it's actually not bad, because that's just $1,600 to cover your own personal expenses, your bills, whatever personal expenses you racked up.
Yeah.
So, they cover your housing, kind of your food and things of that sort.
So you're saying it's kind of like they pay for everything. So really the 1,600 is kind of just extra.
It's enough.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
enough to
yeah.
get you by if you can know how to manage and budget your money.
But it's not like they're paying you enough where like you get out and you have money saved.
Yeah, not really. The only money you're really going to save is maybe 100 or two from your normal pay, but mostly the money you make while deployed, because that's all tax free.
Okay.
And you get like hazard pay on top of that. So,
did you ever plan on you ever planned on college or anything like that?
I did go to college for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
While I was actually pursuing the whole competing thing, I was in college.
Oh, so this is after you already had left the military and everything, your
Yep.
personal training, you went to college.
Yep.
Oh, okay. What'd you take?
I was just doing my general education courses.
Okay.
I was undecided as to what route I wanted to take, but I knew it had, wanted to pursue something in fitness, but I also knew there wasn't money in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was kind of up in the air, and that's I don't know if I'm jumping too far forward, but
it's okay.
Yeah, when I was going to college, I was like, well, you know what? Let me really pursue this bodybuilding thing and see what I can make happen. And I ended up moving out to San Diego from Virginia.
Nice.
To go to the National Personal Training Institute there, and the military paid for that and paid for your cost of living and things of that sort.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that kind of really allowed me to pursue this and kind of get my foot in the door while still being able to pay my bills. And then at that point, kind of sponsorships took over. So
okay, so we'll go back just a bit, because I'm sure people that are starting out want to know how that kind of happened.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to San Diego to learn how to get just your personal training certification, I guess, or degree.
Yeah.
While you're there, are you competing?
Yeah. So before moving to San Diego, I was able to get my pro card at the 2014 Nationals.
Okay.
So
how many shows did you do to get that? Like, how many amateur shows did you do?
All right, so let's start at 2012. So 2012, I became a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And actually, one of my coworkers, another trainer, was competing for her pro card in bikini.
Okay.
So all I knew about at this point was bodybuilding. I didn't know about any other division.
Yeah.
And she was like, hey, there's this new division that came out that I think you'd be perfect for. And she was like telling me about men's physique. And at that point, I looked into it. At that time, Mark Anthony, Sadiq, Jason Clemson, those guys were like the top guys.
Yeah.
They were like on Once Winning as a show. So I'm just watching that. And I was like, well, you know what? That'd be fun. Let me find a show, pick it, and get ready for it. And I did that. And
how did the first one go?
The first one, I ended up in 4th place.
Okay.
I think maybe there was like 15 guys or something like that.
Yeah.
Then I was like, all right, that was fun. I got my taste of it, but now on to bigger and better things.
Is that when you started doing steroids?
No, not yet. But I thought I wasn't going to do men's physique anymore. I thought I was going to try to progress and maybe work my way up to bodybuilding one day.
Okay.
My coach at the time, who was just another friend and a coworker, he convinced me. He was like, well, let's just do this show. It was the Jay Cutler Classic in Baltimore. And that was 2013, I believe. And I'm actually winning my second show and winning the overall in men's physique.
Awesome.
And
natural.
Natural.
That's great. Okay.
And then went to Junior USA's and got 3rd place, natural still.
Okay.
And then I went up and I was like, all right, maybe I want to pursue this pro card thing. I still didn't know what a pro card meant. Didn't know anything about the IFBB. Still didn't really know much about the NPC, but went to Team Universe and I got 3rd call outs, I think. And I was like, well, this sucks. Like, I don't want to do this again. So at that point, I pretty much decided to give up on competing and all that. I had some friends that I had competed with that told me, just give it one more show, try it one more time. And that's when I did the 2014 Nationals in Miami and ended up winning my class. Got my pro card, still natural. I was 143 pounds when I went pro.
So what turns somebody around when you're like, I want to quit, and then how did your friends talk you back into it? What made you decide to give it one more shot? Because then you got your pro card. Like, it's such a flip, right? Like, you're gonna walk away. So what was the catalyst that was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it one more time?
There was no downside to it. It was just kind of, well, why not give it one more shot? And if this one more shot fails, and then you can quit. It was just kind of that. I was just kind of like, oh, what, screw it, why not?
So at the point where you got your pro card at the 2014.
Mhm.
You had come back from San Diego at that point.
No, I was still living in Virginia.
Oh, you're still living. So you hadn't gone to San Diego yet.
No, not yet.
Okay, so you got your pro card while you're still in Virginia. Then you go to San Diego.
Yeah, at that point, I decided, maybe let me try to do something within this industry as an IFBB pro and try to make something happen for myself. And that's when I decided, California was kind of what everybody was doing or trying to do. So
So the reason I'm asking that is I'm trying to lead to, where did the first sponsorship come into play?
Right after going pro. So there was already a company it was a random company, but they're already sending me free supplements. At that point, I think I had like 1,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
They were sending me free supplements. I went pro and there was like, hey, we'd like to keep you on board long term. How does $300 a month sound? And I was like, shit, that's my car payment. That's freaking amazing. Let's do it. So
that's my car payment. That's a good way to look at it. So how long was the first contract for $300?
That lasted until I did my second or third pro show. I think actually, because this company was like it wasn't a big company.
Just a small company, yeah.
Yeah, it was a very small company who decided they wanted to do like a sports line.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really doing too well. It wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah.
And that's when VPX was actually my first like kind of bigger sponsor.
Yeah.
And they came around, I want to say before my first pro show. They had actually approached me. This was before like Bang was like big. So this is when they still had like their shotgun pre-workout.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember taking that during deployment. So I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
VPX, they ended up paying me $300.
Okay. Car payment again, paid.
Yeah. So same $300. Wasn't really progressing financially, but that was my first supplement sponsor until my third pro show, which was also my first pro win. Another guy had approached me and he said he had his company that he was starting and he wanted to work with me. I still had no idea how a lot of this stuff worked. So I was all about it. I wasn't really happy with VPX.
So all along, so for the people listening that are kind of younger guys starting out, all along, people just approached you. Did you ever go chase anybody for a contract or?
Oh, absolutely.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when I first went pro, I mean, that's what everybody thinks when they're first competing. Like, oh, I'm a pro. Now these sponsors are going to start coming and all these opportunities are going to open up. It doesn't really work that way. Yeah. But I was shooting out, people were like, oh, just, put together a resume or CV up and, shoot them out. And I was shooting them out to, companies like ON,
everybody,
Pro Sups, all the companies with like, that were had a reputation.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear back from any of them, but
but now they're probably all calling. So you got to the top pretty quickly though, because when I look at your thing, you were like 10th. It says 9th at your first pro show.
No, first pro show, I was 3rd.
Oh, so this is off. Okay, so this says 2016 New York Pro 9th.
Yeah, that was my 4th pro show. So I went my first pro show I got 3rd, second pro show I got 2nd, third pro show I got 1st, and then the New York Pro actually was a show I wasn't planning on doing because I just qualified for that Olympia.
Yeah, and
I binged for 2 weeks, so I was already up like 25 pounds. My coach calls me. He's like, "Hey, man, you haven't been to the gym. We got to get you ready for New York." And at this point, New York's 4 weeks away. And I'm like,
trying to drop some weight.
Yeah, I was like, oh God.
Who's your coach? Who's your coach?
Ryan Benson, Team Zero Gravity.
Okay. Is he still your coach now?
He's not my coach. I'm working with Dorian Hamilton now.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, Dorian's a good friend of mine. And you're with HD.
Yeah.
How's Dorian doing with you? Good?
I absolutely love Dorian, his approach to everything.
He's a good dude.
That's the best part about it is I feel like he's one of those guys who doesn't have to do it, but he's doing it genuinely because he wants to help.
I think he really, really enjoys working with high level athletes. He likes because Dorian's very how can I put this? He gets very irritated at people that don't care about their own progress. Yeah. And usually when you get guys like yourself or other high level athletes, they care about every little detail. And Dorian is a very detail oriented person. Yeah. So I know he's he gets a lot of enjoyment out of working with people that actually do what they say they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure he's yeah, it's I think you're in really good hands, and you're lucky to he's lucky, you guys are lucky that you found each other.
Yeah.
So what's the plan now? So classic is next.
Yeah.
But I'm still looking at your record and I'm like, you were so close.
It's just
not to go back to it. I know you said like
I just feel like I don't have anything to prove.
No, you don't.
I've proved everything to myself, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Is what you feel and how you feel about yourself, not how somebody else feels.
So we covered your past. Let's just go over. I won't keep you too much longer because we've been over an hour now. But I just want to go over your future.
Okay.
I know you don't chase titles, which is what you've been kind of saying through the whole podcast. But do you have a goal? Like, do you want to be classic physique, Mr. Olympia? Do you care about your placing, or do you just have that vision that you want to achieve?
I just have a vision, and like I said, if that vision of how I picture myself physically takes me to a point where I do well, then maybe that'll change, but I've always been very realistic in that there's just so many levels to this.
Yeah.
It's people think, I won this regional show. Next step is the Olympia. It's like, how are you going to do it at the national level? How are you going to do it at the pro level? Like, my thing is I have this goal to step on the classic stage. And that first goal is just have people say there's potential.
Yeah.
Then from there, build upon that. And, maybe one day place in the top 5. If I don't do that my first show, then place or win a show.
Yeah.
And, just kind of work my way up in steps.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that. I actually feel it's very mature and very well thought out, because most people that we talk to, and I'm sure you've come across this in the industry, are like you said, they win one show and they're like, I'm going to be Mr. Olympia. They forget. And I think that's how people get dissuaded from the industry, is because they don't realize there's a whole bunch of steps along the way. So kind of feel like the way you have it planned, which is, look, I don't care about anything else. I'm just focusing on the next challenge. Kind of keeps you focused and keeps you hungry, keeps you level headed too.
I think so. It doesn't allow for any. I'm not afraid of failure, but I'm not setting myself up for failure at the same time. A lot of these people, after I made that announcement, there's a whole handful of people that are like, oh, he's trying to compete with Seabohm. I'm like, dude, it's immediate, light years ahead of me. Like, that's not my intent. Intent's not to go and be somebody who the top 5 need to worry about. I know I'm far away from that.
Yeah, but I don't, it's funny. Like, I'm laughing at it because, Chris it's funny that they would compare you immediately to Mr. Olympia.
That's what everybody thinks. Yeah. They're just like, all right, well, he's a high-level men's physique competitor. He's making that transition. Yeah. Is he going to go and do a pro show like right away? Like, no. And I got to grow. I got to take my time. But
you have to admit, it is a compliment. It's a huge, I know what you're saying. Like, I know, the rationals, because I'm kind of like you. I'm more rational than I am like a dreamer. Mm-hmm. So I'm rational in my thought process about how things are going to go. So I totally get what you're saying, but at the same time, you got to look at it like a compliment. If they think you're that good that they could even put you in the conversation.
I think they're putting me, they're not thinking I'm that good though. They're just like, he has absolutely no chance to go out there and do a pro show and do well.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I think most of the people that are kind of on the same page as me, and they're like, oh, I think, he's got the potential to do it. Like,
I see what you're saying.
The right move. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting, man. I think, look, we haven't spoken too much before. I've always kind of like seen your physique and seen photos of you. I've always thought your physique was absolutely crazy. The first time I saw your waist, I was like, who the fuck? I'm like, does this person have organs? Like, I don't know how this is possible. Right. But I've also always thought your physique was absolutely crazy. So I'm looking forward to seeing, the development. I'm looking forward to seeing the change, and, seriously, to see how you do. I think you could be pretty awesome. So
I appreciate that.
It's exciting, man. I think it's cool that you've decided to challenge yourself with this whole new thing, because it's not going to be easy, but it could be very rewarding. You know what I mean? So it's pretty awesome. Is there anything you want to say or message you want to put out or anything before we log off today?
The biggest thing is I just want to tell everybody out there, take things day by day. Don't drown yourself with getting caught up too far in the future or dwelling on the past. Focus on what you can control and work on that. Also huge shout out to, HD Muscle and Dark Sport for taking care of me and allowing me to do what I do, and for you for doing this and having me on. So
yeah, no, it's my pleasure, man. I appreciate the time. Good luck with your wedding next week.
Thank you.
Congratulations again on getting married. I hope everything goes smooth, and maybe we'll do this again as you progress, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to it.
All right, brother. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share with your friends, and like the video. And if you get a chance, check out the description for all the different links to all the different places you can find Hostile and myself. And lastly, check out hostile.com for our new line of supplements and all of our apparel and gear. Thanks again for watching.